Park Yuna was not born to be a diplomat. She was born to be a doctor. For 20 years, she had worked in hospitals across Earth and its colonies. She had held the hands of dying patients. She had delivered babies in war zones. She had learned that every living thing, no matter how different, wanted the same basic things. They wanted to live. They wanted to be safe. They wanted to matter. When Earth's government asked her to become an ambassador, she had laughed at first. She knew nothing about politics. She knew nothing about treaties or trade agreements or the complicated dance of galactic diplomacy. But they told her something that changed her mind. They told her about the veil ith. The Velith were insects. Not small insects like the ones on Earth, but massive creatures that stood taller than humans. They had hard shells the color of dark metal. They had 4 arms and 2 legs. Their eyes were black and cold, like deep space itself. They had conquered 43 worlds in the last 200 years. Every species in the galaxy was afraid of them. But Yuna saw their medical reports. She saw their population numbers. She saw something that nobody else seemed to notice. The Velith were dying, not from war or disease, but from something slower and sadder. Their birth rates were falling. Their queens were producing fewer eggs each generation. In 500 years, maybe less, the Velith would be extinct. They were not conquering because they were strong. They were conquering because they were terrified. Yuna understood fear. She had seen it in the eyes of every patient who knew they were sick. Fear made people do terrible things. But fear could also be healed. She took the job. For the first 3 years, nobody believed she could succeed. The Velith had never signed a peace treaty with anyone. They took what they wanted. They destroyed what they did not need. They saw other species as tools or obstacles, nothing more. Yuna did not try to negotiate with their leaders at first. Instead, she asked to visit their hospitals. The Velith did not understand. No ambassador had ever asked such a thing. But they were curious, so they allowed it. Yuna spent 6 months studying Velith medicine. She learned their language. She learned their biology. She learned the names of their diseases and the herbs they used to treat them. And then she did something that shocked everyone. She cured their queens. The fertility problem that had haunted the Velith for generations was caused by a simple mineral deficiency. Their homeworld had once been rich in a certain element, but centuries of mining had depleted it. Their queens were starving for something they did not even know they needed. Yuna found the cure. She gave it to them freely. She asked for nothing in return. The Velith High Tribunal did not know what to do. In their entire history, no species had ever helped them without wanting something. They had been prepared for war, for demands, for tricks and traps. They were not prepared for kindness. The supreme at that time was an old Velith named Ketharan. He had conquered 12 worlds himself. He had killed thousands with his own hands. But when he looked at this small human woman who had saved his species, something changed in him. He offered peace. The Treaty of Ganymede was signed on a station orbiting Jupiter. It was a simple document. The Velith would stop expanding. They would trade with humanity instead of conquering them. They would allow human doctors to work with Velith medical teams. In return, humanity would share their knowledge. Not their weapons. Not their territory. Just their knowledge. For 5 years, it worked beautifully. Yuna traveled between Earth and Velith space dozens of times. She attended births on Velith worlds. She trained young Velith doctors. She even learned to laugh at their strange jokes, which mostly involved mathematics. And the proper way to organize things, she brought a young man named Cho Tae-yoon as her assistant. He was only 24 years old, fresh from university, with bright eyes and endless hope. He believed in Yuna's mission completely. He believed that the universe could be kind if people just tried hard enough. Then old Kethoran died. The new supreme was his nephew, HFY. He was younger, stronger, and full of rage. He had grown up hearing stories of Veloth glory, of the great conquests, of the time when his species was feared across the galaxy. He did not want peace. He wanted power. He looked at humanity and saw something disgusting. He saw a species that talked when it should have fought. He saw weakness pretending to be wisdom. He saw an opportunity. The summit on Horizon's Rest was supposed to be routine. Yuna brought 17 people with her, including young Tian. They were going to discuss trade routes and medical exchanges. Boring diplomatic work. They never got the chance. The Vela soldiers came through the doors without warning. They moved fast, faster than humans could react. They had been planning this for months. Yuna watched her people die. She watched Taeyin fall, his bright eyes going dark. She watched everything she had built crumble in seconds. HFY stepped over the bodies himself. He wanted to see her face. "You thought you could tame us," he said. "You thought your medicine made us friends. But the Veloth do not have friends. We have subjects and we have enemies." Yuna looked up at him. She was not crying. She was not begging. "You are making a mistake," she said quietly. HFY laughed. "The only mistake was letting you live this long." He broadcast her death to every human colony. He wanted them to see. He wanted them to understand that kindness was weakness, that peace was surrender, that humanity would kneel or burn. He got his wish. Every human saw, but he did not understand what he was looking at. He saw tears and grief and shock. He did not see the anger building behind it. He had crossed the final line, and humanity was about to teach him what that meant. The broadcast reached Earth at 3:47 in the morning. Within minutes, it spread to every screen on the planet. People woke up to the sound of their devices buzzing. They turned on their screens and saw Ambassador Park Yuna die. They saw everything. They saw her staff fall one by one. They saw young Taeyeon reach for her hand before he collapsed. They saw HFY stand over her body and smile. Then they saw his message: Earth will kneel, or Earth will burn. For 1 hour, humanity did nothing. People stood in their homes, in the streets, in their offices, and they stared at screens that had gone dark. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Then something strange happened. The factories turned off their machines. The schools sent their children home. The restaurants closed their doors. The trains stopped running. The lights in the great cities went dim, one by one, until the planet was dark. It was not panic. It was not fear. It was silence. The Veloth had spies on Earth. They reported back to HFY with confusion. The humans were not fighting. They were not running. They were not doing anything at all. Their military ships sat still in their docks. Their weapons remained in their storage facilities. Their leaders had stopped making public statements. HFY smiled when he heard this. He told his advisors that humans were exactly what he had expected. They were soft. They were broken. They would send diplomats soon, begging for mercy. He would make them crawl before he accepted their surrender. He was wrong about everything God and soul. In a building that officially did not exist, Fleet Admiral Han Do-yoon gathered the survivors of the United Earth Defense Council. Han was 63 years old. His hair was gray. His face was lined with decades of difficult decisions. He had fought in 3 wars before he turned 40. He had seen friends die. He had ordered strikes that killed thousands. 20 years ago, he had read a young doctor's proposal for peaceful contact with the Veloth. He had thought she was naive. He had thought she was foolish. But something in her words had touched him. He had recommended her for the ambassador position himself. Now she was dead. And he was the one who had to decide what came next. The council members sat around a long table. There were admirals and generals, scientists and engineers, politicians and spies. All of them had watched the broadcast. All of them had the same look in their eyes. It was not grief. Grief would come later. It was something colder. Vice Admiral Bei Jun stood at the display screen. She was younger than Han, but not by much. She had sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She had spent her entire career preparing for a war she hoped would never come. "The numbers are not good," she said. Her voice was flat and calm. "The Velith have over 300 capital ships. We have 47. Their empire spans 60 systems. We have 12 colonies. In a direct military conflict, we lose. There is no scenario where we win." "I know the numbers," Han said. "Then you know we cannot fight them." "Not the way they expect." Han looked around the table. He saw the same thought on every face. The same question that nobody wanted to ask. "The Velith think they understand us," he said slowly. "They think they know what humans are. They see our diplomats, our doctors, our teachers. They see us building instead of destroying, talking instead of fighting. And they think this makes us weak." He paused. "They have forgotten something. Or maybe they never knew it at all." He pressed a button on the table. A holographic image appeared above them. It showed Earth's history. Not the pretty parts. Not the discoveries and the art and the progress. It showed the wars. It showed the mushroom clouds over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It showed the trenches of World War I, filled with bodies. It showed the concentration camps and the gulags, the genocides and the massacres. It showed every terrible thing that humans had done to each other across 10,000 years of civilization. "We did not become peaceful because we were born peaceful," Han said. "We became peaceful because we learned what war really means. We learned it the hard way. We learned it by almost destroying ourselves, again and again." He turned off the display. "The Velith have never faced an enemy like us. They have conquered species that fought back, yes. But those species fought the way the Velith expected. They fought for territory, for resources, for survival. They fought wars that made sense." June understood. "And we do not fight wars that make sense." "No," Han said. "We fight wars that nobody should ever fight. We have weapons that should never be used. We have strategies that should never be taught. We locked them away because we were ashamed of them, because we hoped we would never need them again." He looked at the council. "The Velith killed 18 people. They killed an ambassador who spent her life trying to help them. They broadcast her death like it was entertainment. And now they expect us to kneel." His voice did not rise. It did not need to. "Open Vault 7. Nobody spoke. Vault 7 was a legend. Most people in the military thought it was a myth, a story told to scare young officers. The idea that humanity had kept its worst secrets hidden, waiting for a day that might never come. But the council members knew better. They knew what was in Vault 7. "Admiral," one of the politicians said carefully, "if we open that vault, there is no going back. The things inside, the weapons, the strategies, they were sealed away for a reason." "Yes," Han said. "They were sealed away because we did not want to use them. Because using them would make us monsters." He stood up. "But the Velith made a choice. They chose to kill our people. They chose to threaten our worlds. They chose to see our kindness as weakness." He walked to the window and looked out at the dark city below. "Now we make a choice. We can kneel and hope they show mercy. Or we can show them exactly why we tried so hard to be peaceful in the first place." He turned back to the council. "We did not choose this. But we will finish it." The vote was unanimous. Vault 7 opened for the first time in 80 years. And somewhere in Velith space, HFY was still smiling, still waiting for the humans to beg. He had no idea what was coming. Dr. Kang Sujin had spent her entire life studying war, not fighting it, studying it. She had read every book, analyzed every battle, examined every strategy that humans had ever used to kill each other. She understood war the way a surgeon understands the human body. She knew where to cut. She knew what would bleed. She knew what would heal and what would die. When the council called her to present the contents of Vault 7, she did not hesitate. She had been waiting for this call for 30 years. The room was cold. The walls were thick metal, buried deep beneath the mountains of Switzerland. The air tasted old, like a tomb that had been sealed for too long. Sujin stood before the council with a simple display screen. No fancy graphics. No dramatic music. Just facts. The Velith have 3 weaknesses, she began. Their biology, their psychology, and their arrogance. I will explain each one, and then I will tell you how we can use them. She pressed a button. An image of a Velith queen appeared. First, biology. The Velith reproduce through hive queens. Each planet has between 3 and 7 queens. They are massive creatures, too large to move on their own. They spend their entire lives producing eggs. Without them, the Velith cannot reproduce. She let that sink in. Option 1. We develop a targeted virus that kills only queens. Within 1 generation, the Velith population begins to collapse. Within 3 generations, they are extinct. Nobody spoke. The word extinct hung in the air like smoke. This is genocide, Sujin continued calmly. I am not recommending it. I am telling you it is possible. The research was completed 40 years ago. We can produce the virus within 6 months. She changed the image. Now it showed a diagram of Velith brain structure. Second weakness, psychology. The Velith neural system processes information differently than ours. They are vulnerable to certain frequency patterns that humans cannot even hear. If we broadcast these frequencies across a planet, every Velith in range experiences permanent psychotic breakdown. They attack each other. They destroy their own cities. They tear themselves apart. Admiral Han's face was stone. Also genocide. Yes, also genocide. Also possible. Also not recommended. Sujin paused. But you need to understand what we are capable of. The Velith think they are dealing with a soft species. They need to learn otherwise. She changed the image again. This time, it showed a list of names. 40,000 names. Third option, more surgical. This is the Velith leadership caste. Every commander, every administrator, every decision-maker in their empire. 40,000 individuals out of 47 billion. We develop a bioweapon that targets their specific genetic markers. We release it simultaneously across their empire. Within 1 day, every leader is dead. The general population survives, but their ability to wage war ends immediately. Assassination on a massive scale, Vice Admiral Bay said quietly. Yes, faster than genocide. More merciful, if that word means anything here. But still terrible. Sujin turned off the display. She looked at the council members, one by one. These are the weapons in Vault 7. These are the things we created during our darkest years, and then locked away because we were horrified by ourselves. Any of these options will end the Velith threat permanently. She paused. But there is a 4th option. Admiral Han leaned forward. Tell us. Sujin smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had spent decades thinking about the worst things possible and had finally found something interesting. The Velith are arrogant. They have never lost. They have never been invaded. They have never felt what it is like to be helpless. She pulled up a map of Velith space. At the center was a planet marked in red. Vel Prime, the Velith homeworld. Option 4. We take their homeworld. Not destroy it. Not burn it. Take it. We infiltrate their systems. We disable their defenses. We put human soldiers in every critical facility. And then we wake them up one morning and show them that everything they thought they controlled now belongs to us. The room was silent. No deaths, Sujin continued. No destruction. Just absolute, complete dominance. We show them that we could have killed them all, but we chose not to. We show them that their greatest strength, their homeworld, is nothing to us. We show them that every moment they continue to exist is because we allow it. Can we actually do this? Han asked. It will take time. Months, maybe a year. We need to train teams. We need to study their systems. We need to find every weak point and exploit it perfectly. But yes, Admiral, we can do this. Why is this better than the other options? Sujin's expression changed. For a moment, she looked almost sad, because Ambassador Park believed in redemption. She believed that every species, even the Velith, could change. She died trying to prove that. If we destroy them, we prove her wrong. If we dominate them without destruction, we prove her right. She looked at the map, and we send a message to every species in the galaxy. Humanity tried peace. We offered kindness. We extended our hand in friendship. And when the Velith slapped that hand away, when they killed our ambassador and threatened our children, we did not become monsters. We became something worse. We became masters. We showed them that we could have destroyed everything, Bay said slowly, but we chose control instead. Yes, fear fades. Destruction creates martyrs. But absolute helplessness? The knowledge that your entire species exists only because someone else allows it? That never goes away. That changes everything. Admiral Han stood up. He walked to the map and stared at Vel Prime for a long moment. Ambassador Park spent her life building bridges, he said. She would not want us to become what we fought against. No, Sujin agreed. She would want us to be better. Han turned to the council. Then we will be better. We will take their homeworld. We will show them what humanity really is. And then we will give them a choice. He looked at Sujin. Begin the preparations. We have work to do. The council dispersed. The plans began. And somewhere in Velith space, Kethvore was still waiting for humans to beg. He would be waiting for a very long time. Captain Lee Minho was not supposed to exist. His file had been erased from every database. His family believed he had died in a shuttle accident. His friends had mourned him and moved on with their lives. For the past 8 months, Lee Minho had been nobody. This was exactly what he needed to be. He stood in a training facility hidden beneath the ice of Europa, watching his team run through another simulation. 12 specialists. Each one the best in their field. Each one officially dead. Yunhana was practicing Velith speech patterns. She was a linguist, fluent in 18 languages, but Velith was different. Their sounds came from parts of the throat that humans did not naturally use. She had been practicing for 6 months, and now she could speak like a native. Park Jung-ho was working on the technology. He was an engineer who had built his first computer at age 7. Now, he was learning to hack into Velith systems, which used a completely different logic structure than human computers. He had failed thousands of times, but he kept trying. Kim Soing was the infiltration expert. She could move through any building without being detected. She could become invisible in plain sight. She had spent 3 months learning to walk like a Velith, to move her body in ways that looked natural to insect eyes. The others had their own skills: explosives, medicine, psychology, combat. Each one was essential. Each one knew they might not come back, Minho gathered them together. "Today is the 6-month mark," he said. "In 6 months, we have learned more about the Velith than any human in history. We know their systems. We know their weaknesses. We know their fears." He looked at each team member, and they know nothing about us. They think we are broken. They think we are scared. Their spies report that Earth is quiet, that our military is passive, that we have accepted defeat. He smiled. It was not a kind smile. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The plan was called Operation Yuna's Answer. It was simple in concept and incredibly difficult in execution. 17 ships would travel to Velispace. They were not warships. They were cargo vessels, old and unremarkable, the kind of ships that moved between systems every day without anyone noticing. Their transponder codes had been stolen from real Velith merchants. Their crews had been trained to act like Velith traders. Inside these ships were 10,000 humans. Soldiers, engineers, hackers, doctors. Each one had a specific target. Each one knew exactly what they needed to do. The ships would arrive at Vel Prime over several weeks, spacing themselves out to avoid suspicion. They would dock at different stations, unload fake cargo, and wait. Then, on the anniversary of Ambassador Park's death, they would strike. Not with weapons. Not with bombs. With control, every power station on Vel Prime would be taken over. Every communication hub would be captured. Every orbital defense platform would fall into human hands. The queens would wake up to find human soldiers standing beside them, not threatening, just present. And Kethfore would wake up to find a human in his bedroom. It was insane. It was impossible. It was exactly what the Velith would never expect. They have never been infiltrated, Hana explained during one briefing. Their security is built on the assumption that nobody would even try. They check for weapons, for explosives, for known threats. They do not check for humans who are simply better at pretending than they expect. What about their numbers? Someone asked. There are billions of Velith on that planet. We are 10,000. Numbers do not matter, Soyin replied. Control matters. If we control their power, they freeze in the dark. If we control their communications, they cannot coordinate. If we control their defenses, they cannot fight back. 10,000 people in the right places can paralyze a planet. The training continued. Weeks became months. The teams practiced every scenario they could imagine. They learned what to do if they were discovered. They learned what to do if someone was captured. They learned what to do if everything went wrong. Minho watched them grow from specialists into something more. They were becoming a single unit, a weapon that thought and moved as one. Finally, the day came. The ships launched from hidden bases across human space. They traveled slowly, carefully, using routes that avoided Velith patrols. One by one, they entered Velith territory. Minho's ship was the third to arrive at Vel Prime. The planet was beautiful in a terrible way. It was dark, covered in massive hive structures that stretched toward the sky like metal trees. Billions of Velith moved through those structures, living their lives completely unaware of what was coming. Remember the mission, Minho told his team as they prepared to dock. No unnecessary deaths. We are not here to destroy. We are here to demonstrate. And if they attack us? Jano asked. Then we defend ourselves. But we do not escalate. We do not give them martyrs. We give them helplessness. The ship docked without incident. The Velith Port Authority scanned their cargo and found nothing unusual. They had no reason to look deeper. No species had ever tried something this bold. Minho stepped onto Vel Prime for the first time. The air was thick and smelled of chemicals he could not identify. The Velith around him were massive, towering over his small human form. He felt fear. He pushed it down. Somewhere across the planet, the other teams were doing the same thing. 10,000 humans spreading out through Velas society, waiting for the signal. The anniversary of Ambassador Park's death was 3 days away. Minho found a quiet place and sent a coded message to Admiral Han. All teams in position, ready to proceed. The response came back immediately. For Yuna, for Earth, make them understand. Minho deleted the message and joined his team. The Velith had killed humanity's ambassador. They had broadcast her death as a warning. They had expected fear and submission. They were about to receive something very different. Supreme HFY slept well. He had slept well every night since killing the human ambassador. Why would he not? His plan had worked perfectly. The humans had proven exactly as weak as he expected. Their colonies were silent. Their military was still. Their leaders had sent no demands, no threats, nothing. They were broken. Soon he would send his fleets to their worlds. He would take their planets one by one. He would make them serve the Velith as they should have from the beginning. The Treaty of Ganymede would be forgotten. The old ways would return. He was dreaming of conquest when the lights went out. HFY woke in complete darkness. This was wrong. The Supreme's chambers were never dark. Power flowed to his rooms from 3 separate sources. For all 3 to fail at once was impossible. He reached for the communication panel beside his bed. Dead. He reached for the emergency beacon. Dead. He reached for his weapon. It was gone. Good morning. The voice came from the darkness. It was small and soft, speaking perfect Velith. HFY's blood ran cold. The lights came back on. A human woman stood in the center of his chamber. She was tiny compared to him, barely reaching his chest. She wore a simple uniform with no weapons visible. She was smiling. Behind her stood 4 human soldiers. They carried weapons he did not recognize. Their faces showed no emotion at all. How did you get in here? HFY demanded. His voice did not shake. He would not give them that satisfaction. The same way we got everywhere else, the woman said. Carefully, she pressed a button on her wrist. Every screen in the chamber activated. HFY saw his worst nightmare. On the screens, he saw Velith queens with human doctors standing beside them, running medical scans. He saw power stations with human engineers sitting calmly at the controls. He saw communication hubs with human operators monitoring every signal. He saw orbital defense platforms with human crews watching the planet below. He saw his entire world in human hands. My name is Admiral Beijun, the woman said. Exactly 1 year ago, you killed Ambassador Park Yuna. You killed 17 innocent people. You broadcast their deaths to make us afraid. She stepped closer. HFY realized he could not move. Something was holding him in place, some field he could not see. We were not afraid, June continued. We were angry. And we decided to show you what anger means when it comes from humans. This is impossible, HFY said. You cannot have done this. Our security, our defenses, our numbers. Your security was designed for enemies who fight the way you expect, June said. We do not fight the way you expect. We fight the way we learned to fight each other. Over thousands of years of wars you cannot imagine. She gestured at the screens. Right now, 10,000 humans control every critical system on your homeworld. Your queens are safe. Your people are unharmed. But they live because we allow them to live. They breathe because we allow them to breathe. Do you understand? HFY said nothing. His mind was racing, trying to find some escape, some way to turn this around. I asked you a question, Supreme. Do you understand what has happened here? You have conquered Vel Prime, he said finally. You have done what no species has ever done. No, June said. We have not conquered anything. Conquest requires destruction. We have not destroyed anything. We have simply taken control. And now we are going to give it back. HFY stared at her. What? June pulled a small device from her pocket and placed it on the table beside him. This is a communicator. In exactly 1 hour, you're going to use it to broadcast a message to your entire empire. You are going to announce that the Treaty of Ganymede is restored. You are going to return freedom to every world you have conquered in the last 100 years. And you are going to personally apologize for the murder of Ambassador Park Yuna. And if I refuse? June's expression did not change. Then we demonstrate what else we could do. We have already proven we can take your homeworld without firing a single shot. Would you like to see what happens when we decide to be less gentle? She turned and walked toward the door. Then she stopped. Ambassador Park spent 15 years building peace with your species. She believed that even the Velith could learn to be better. She believed in redemption. June looked back at him. She was killed for that belief. So we are giving you one chance to prove her right. One chance to show that her faith was not wasted. One chance to choose a different future. Her eyes were hard. Do not waste it. She left the chamber. The soldiers followed. HFY was alone with the screens, watching humans control everything he had ever known. He thought about fighting. He thought about calling for help, rallying his people, finding some way to resist, but he knew it was useless. The humans had proven their point perfectly. They did not need to kill anyone. They did not need to destroy anything. They had simply shown that they could, and that was far more terrifying than any weapon. 1 hour later, Supreme HFY broadcast his surrender to the entire Velith Empire. The Treaty of Ganymede was restored. The conquered worlds were freed. And on every screen, HFY spoke the words he had never imagined he would say, "We were wrong." Across human space, people watched in silence. They had waited a year for this moment. They had trusted their leaders, their soldiers, their plan. And now they saw the result. The Velith had crossed the final line. And humanity had answered, not with destruction, not with revenge, with something far more profound, with absolute, undeniable superiority. And the mercy to use it wisely, on Earth, in the building that officially did not exist. Admiral Han Do-hyun watched the broadcast with tears in his eyes. "For you, Yuna," he whispered. "We stayed better. Just like you wanted." The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. The soft species. The talkers. The ones who preferred peace. They were all of those things. But now everyone knew what happened when you pushed them too far, and nobody would ever forget.